Hello everyone, welcome you all. Now we are going to discuss Indian polity prelims practice questions based on the famous book M. Lashmikant. In this section, we are going to see say 3 of 10 questions. Let us begin with the question number 1. Consider the statements regarding the zonal council. Statement number 1. It is the important constitutional body created by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956 and it is added by the Prime Minister of India. Here we have to identify which of the following statement is or are not correct. Okay, we have to identify the not correct statement. Kindly remember this. See, let us analyze the statement number 1. See, this zonal council, okay, it's a statutory body. Okay, it is not a constitutional body. Therefore, this statement is wrong. See, it is not created by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. Instead, it is created based on the State Reorganization. Okay, State Reorganization Act. Okay, Reorganization Act of 1956. Okay, so this is a statutory body. Okay, remember these points, very important points. And it is headed by the Prime Minister of India. No, it is headed by the Home Minister. Remember these points. Okay, it is headed by Home Minister of. Therefore, this statement is also incorrect. First one is also incorrect. Therefore, so which of the following statement given here is or are not correct? Both the statements are not correct statement. And also let us know few facts related to this zonal council. So there are 5 zonal councils, okay, added by the Home Minister. And who are the members? The chairman is the Home Minister. And this zonal council consists of chief ministers of each zone. They are acting as the vice chairperson. Okay, they are acting as the vice chairperson. Okay, number 3, 2 other ministers. Okay, 2 other ministers of the respective state. And number 4, one has to remember these points also, very important. And administrator. Okay, the fourth one is administrator. These 4 points are very important. Okay, and remember that these 5 councils are north, central, east, western and southern. Okay, and provided a zonal council of each zone. So it is consist of Home Minister and a chief minister of all the states in the zone, 2 other ministers from each state in the zone, administrators of each union territories in the zone. And also remember that the Home Minister of central government is the common chairman of all the 5 councils. Okay, each chief minister acts as a vice chairman of the council by rotation, holding the office for the period of 1 year at the time. Okay, holding the office period of 1 year at the time. This zonal council aims at promoting cooperation. So this is also very important point. Aim. What is this zonal council? The aims at promoting and cooperation. Okay, promoting cooperation and coordination. So this is about the zonal council. Okay, between the coordination between the states, union territories and the center. Let us move on with question number 2. It is about the interstate trade. Okay, interstate trade is one of the important drivers of economic growth in federal country. With reference to the interstate trade, consider the following constitutional provisions. Statement number 1. Parliament may by law impose restrictions on the freedom of trade, commerce, or intercourse between one state and another in the public interest. Statement number 2. The bill imposing restrictions on the freedom of trade, commerce, or intercourse within the states cannot be moved in the state legislature without the sanction of the central government. Parliament may enact any laws giving or authorizing any discrimination to deal with the situation arising from the scarcity of goods in any part of the Indian territory. Statement number 4. Trade and commerce within the state is a subject in the concurrent list. Which of the following statement is or are correct? We have to identify the correct statement. See, the Parliament can impose restrictions on the freedom of trade and commerce and intercourse between the states or within the state in a public interest. And also note that the Parliament cannot give preference to one state over another state or discriminate between states. except in case of scarcity of goods in any part of India. Therefore, statement number 1 is right. And just now we have discussed statement number 3 is also right. Okay, with respect to the scarcity of the goods in any part of Indian territory, it may authorize, that is, any discrimination to deal with the situation. Okay, number 2, the legislature of the state can impose reasonable restrictions on the freedom of trade, commerce, and intercourse with the state within the state in public interest, but the bill for this purpose can be introduced in the legislature only with the previous sanction of the president. Therefore, this statement is also right. And what about statement number 3? We have already discussed. So this comes under Article 303. The Parliament shall make any laws giving or authorizing the give, okay, any preference or making or authorizing the making of any discrimination, if it is declared by such law that it is necessary to do so the purpose of dealing with a situation arising from the scarcity of the goods in any part of Indian territory. Therefore, this statement is also right. What about statement number 4? See, trade and commerce is within the state list. Okay, remember that. This is very point with respect to prelims perspective. Trade and commerce, okay, which comes in the list of, okay, entry number 27. Whereas interstate trade and commerce is in the provision of concurrent list. Okay, so kindly remember, trade and commerce comes within the state list, and but interstate, okay, interstate only comes under the concurrent list. Okay, and with the entry of 33. Okay, so with this, number 4 is wrong, right? So 1, 2, 3 is correct. Therefore, option D. Okay, option D, 1, 2, 3 is right. Okay, let us move on with question number 3. Okay, which of the following is correct regarding with the state finance commissions? It is constituted by the President of India every 5 years on recommendations of the governor of the state, and I have laid down the principles that should govern the distribution of net proceeds of taxes, duties, etc. between the center, state, and panchayat. The state legislature provides for the composition of the commission and qualification of its members. It must take recommendation from Central Finance Commission to augment the consolidated fund of a panchayat. Here we have to identify the correct statement. Sorry. See, the governor of a state shall every 5 years constitute a finance commission to review the financial position of the panchayat. Okay. See, here it is given as the constituted by the president. Therefore, this statement is wrong. Okay. Sorry. So also, one has to remember that the principle that should govern the distribution between panchayat of the net proceeds of the taxes, duties, tolls, and fees levied by the state. But see, here it is given as the center. Therefore, it makes this statement is wrong. Okay. Statement number 3. The state legislature may provide for the composition of the commission, the required qualification of its members, and also its manner of their selection. Therefore, this statement is right. What about statement number D? See, the Central Finance Commission shall also suggest the measures needed to augment the consolidated fund of the state to supplement the resources of the panchayat in the states, not on the basis of the recommendations made by the Finance Commission of the state. Therefore, this statement is also wrong. Therefore, answer would be C. Let us move on with the question number 4. State A has so far obtained no loans from the center. State B has obtained loans from the center in the past, but settled them completely. Both State A and B have received no loans from which center has provided guarantee. So which of the following state will require consent of the state if they want to raise a loan within India now? See, within India, therefore neither of them. Okay, see, let us see the few facts. The state government can borrow within India and not abroad, okay, upon the security of the consolidated fund of the state, and also can give guarantees, but both within the limits fixed by the legislature of that particular state. The central government can make loans of any states or give guarantees in respect of loan raised by any state, and any sum required for the purpose of making such loans are to be charged on the consolidated fund of India. And also note that a state cannot raise any loans without the consent of the center. If there is still outstanding, that is very important. If there is still any outstanding, any part of loan made by the state by the center, or in respect of which a guarantee has been given by the center, then they has to get the consent. But here in this case, the state government, that is state A, has no loans. Here state B has already completed the settled. Okay, therefore both the states will require consent. No, therefore neither of them is the right answer. So let us move on with the question number 5. With respect to the territorial limits of the legislative power of center and state, which of the following statement is or are correct? Statement number 1. A state legislature can make laws with the territory of the state. And 2. Parliament can make laws for whole or any part of India. And both parliament and state legislatures are empowered to make extraterritorial legislations. Statement number 4. President assent is required when a state legislature want to make laws applicable outside the territory of India. Here we have to identify the correct statement. C. It is about the legislative power of center and states. Okay. A state legislature can make a law within the territory of the state. Yes, this statement is right. What about statement number 2? C. The parliament can make laws for the whole or any part of territory of India. Therefore, this statement is also right. Statement number 3. The parliament alone can make extraterritorial legislation, not the state legislature. Therefore, this statement is wrong. We can eliminate D. And therefore, statement number 4. The laws made by the state legislature are not applicable outside the state. Okay, except when there is the sufficient nexus between the state and object. Therefore, this statement is also wrong. The president assent is required when a state legislature make a laws applicable outside the territory of state. No. Okay, this statement is wrong. Therefore, we can eliminate this also. And the answer would be A, 1 and 2 only. Let us move on with the question number 6. Which of the following types of bill can be introduced both in parliament and state legislature? The bills imposing the residuary tax, the bill dealing with the subject in union list, the bill intending to implement the international agreement, prevention of cruelty to animal. See, union list can be done only in the parliament. Therefore, this option is wrong. And the bill intending to implement the international treaties done only by the parliament. Therefore, this is also wrong. Residue tax also comes under parliament. This is also wrong. Therefore, the prevention of cruelty to animal, that is can be introduced in parliament and the state legislature. This is the answer for this question. See, the prevention of cruelty to the animals comes under concurrent list. Okay, so one has to remember this. It comes under concurrent list, so that the parliament and state legislature can make laws with respect to any matter enumerated in the concurrent list. With this, I'm moving with question number 7. The Constitution provides for Parliament to make any laws on the matter in the state list when Rajya Sabha passes the resolution. In this context, which of the following statement is or are not correct? See, we have to identify the not correct statement. Okay, that is incorrect statement. The resolution requires support of 2/3 of the total membership of Rajya Sabha. The resolution remains in force for 1 year and it can be renewed after its but maximum lifetime of such a resolution is 3 years. It does not restrict state legislature to make laws on the same matter. When a resolution is passed, the parliament is empowered to make laws under any matter in the state list. See, we have to identify the not correct statement. See, the resolution to make any law on the state list by the parliament must be supported by 2/3 of the members present and voting. Okay, therefore this statement is wrong. The resolution requires support of 2/3 of the total membership of the Rajya Sabha. See, it needed support and also the members present. Okay, the members present and voting. Therefore, this statement is wrong. See, the maximum lifetime is not prescribed. The resolution remains in force for 1 year. It can be renewed any number of times after exceeding the 1 year. The maximum lifetime is not prescribed, but here it is mentioned as 3 years. Therefore, this statement is wrong. What about statement number 3? It does not restrict state legislature to make laws on the same matter. Statement is right. What about statement number 4? When such a resolution, that is the parliament is empowered to make laws only on the matter which is listed for the resolution, not on any matters in the state list, but here it is given as any matters in the state list. Therefore, this makes this statement is wrong. See, here we have to identify the not correct statement. The not correct statements are 1, 2 and 4. Therefore, answer would be B, 1, 2 and 4 only. Let us move on with the question number 8. During which of the following scenarios Parliament acquires power to legislate with respect to the matters in the state list? During financial emergency? No. During wartime? No. And C. During the national emergency, the Parliament acquires the powers to legislate with respect to matters in the state list, while the proclamations of national emergency is in operation, not during the financial emergency, not during the wartime. So therefore, national emergency A is the right answer. And also law becomes inoperative on the expiration of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. Okay, these are the very important points. So let us move on with the question number 9. Which of the following authorities have power to entrust executive functions of center to a state without the consent of that state? That is Parliament. That is straightforward answer. That is Parliament. See, the Constitution makes a provision for the entrustment of the executive functions of the center to a state without the consent of the state. But in the case, the delegation is by the Parliament, not by the President. Okay, this is the very important thing. The Constitution provides for intergovernmental delegation of executive functions in order to mitigate rigidity and avoid a situation of deadlock. Accordingly, the President may, with the consent of the state, entrust to the government any of the executive functions of the state. And also remember that the governor of the state may, with the consent of the central government, entrust to the government any of the executive function of this particular state. So therefore, the answer would be Parliament, B. Let us move on with the question number 10. This is the last question. What is the share of voting power of the center and the states about a GST council? See, this GST council is very important question, very important topic. Let us discuss few facts related to this. Okay, see, the every decision of the goods and service tax council shall be taken at a meeting by the majority of not less than 3/4 of weighted votes of that member present and voting. Members present and voting. That is very important. And remember that also. And also, the vote of the center government shall have the weightage of central government's weightage as 1/3 and the state government weightage as 2/3. So this is very important. Therefore, the answer would be center is 1/3 is nothing but 33% and 2/3 is nothing but 66%. Therefore, answer would be D. With this, I am concluding this session. We will meet in the next class. Thank you. Have a good day.